Hello everybody, it's Kate, the West Coast Paper Crafter. You are joining me Monday evening, possibly live if you're catching this on Facebook at 7 p.m. Pacific time. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Kate. I'm a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator on Vancouver Island in Canada. And tonight we are going to do a little Christmas in July. This is for you, Kate. Christmas in July. All right, so I will be using the Jar of Joy stamp set and the corresponding punch. And I'm just going to quickly go through our measurements and we will get started. All right, I'm going to move some things out of the way. Add a few things. There we go. All right, so again, using the Jar of Joy stamp set. This is a brand new stamp set. It hasn't been available for very long, and it coordinates with the Sweet Jar punch, and it's got lots of festive stamps. So gingerbread man, a little snowman, ornaments, and some really cute sentiments, plus some little snowflakes. So this is a really cute stamp set for Christmas. And I like it. All right, comments are popping up. Hello, Janice. Hey, Kate. This card is for you. Hello, Kathy. And Cynthia, watching from North Dakota. Thanks for tuning in. All right, so Pool Party card base. This is an A2 size, so it is 5.5 by 8.5, scored and folded at 4 1/4 on the 8.5 inch side. I have got a piece of basic white for the inside. This is 4 by 5 1/4. A piece of Lost Lagoon. I raise my camera up just a smidge, and this is 4 by 5 1/4. Designer series paper from the Nests of Winter pack. Also 4 by 5 1/4. Now I did cut it. If you are using paper that's directional, then you're going to want to cut it so the direction is the 5 1/4 side, because the card is going to be like so, versus this, it's going to open like this. Hello, Cynthia. Well, thank you for sharing this video. I do appreciate that. Hey, Marion. How are you? All right, what else do I have? Oh yes, I've got a piece of basic white, 5 1/4 by 2. I've got some basic white for stamping, and I've also got a circle die cut. This is the Stylish Shapes dies, and it's the 2.5 inch diameter. I think that's everything. All right, let's get started. So I know what I'm doing, but I haven't made this card yet. It's just in my brain. What could possibly go wrong, right? What could possibly go wrong? So I'm going to be using Real Red, Pool Party, and Tuxedo Black this evening. And I have got the Sending a Jar Full of Cheer sentiment that I'm going to stamp on my strip of basic white. That's 2 by 5 1/4. Hey, Teresa, thanks for tuning in. Now, I am going to stamp this in the bottom right. Like so. Check my fingers for ink. That's very important. If you've been watching me, you know that I've got an issue. So I can't remember who it was now, but somebody watching my live last week had said, it's the way I close the stamp pads, and that's how I get ink on my fingers. And I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. That totally makes sense. It's all coming together. Marion, I didn't make it up to the lookout to see fireworks. We were all too lazy on the 4th of July, but we heard them, which was nice. All right, so what I'm going to do with this piece of white, I'm going to grab my glasses. Hang on. I threw them on my bed. They were just around the corner. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a snowbank out of this piece of basic white. And some of you may have seen me do something like this if you've been watching for a while. But basically, I'm just going to freehand cut this paper so it's got some curve to it. So it's almost like drifts of snow. And it's that simple. That's all I'm going to do, just like that. And then I'm going to glue down the designer series paper onto the Lost Lagoon. And now that I'm thinking about this, in hindsight, I could have used less designer series paper because I am going to be covering some of it up with my snowbank. So that's hindsight. Now, if you're hearing the door slam, I apologize. That is my family. They forget. They forget that I'm doing a live. And my glue, I'm not even going to fight with my glue tonight because I forgot to prep it before this live started. So I'm just going to start with a new one. And I got a really great tip about glue bottles from Susan Hare, who caught last week's live on replay. And she said you can actually heat up your glue bottles a little bit with your heat gun and it gets the glue flowing nicely. So I think that's a really clever tip. And Susan, if you're watching this on a replay, thank you. I do appreciate that tip. And she had also mentioned that Stampin' Up! Is really good about replacing your blends, because we did talk last week about Stampin' Blends fraying and coming apart. So if you've got a Stampin' Blend that has done that to you, I think it is really worth your time to give customer service a call and see what they have to say. Yeah. Hello, Jackie, sorry. Now, this is going to get matted down on the card front, but before I do that, I'm going to grab some real red and white baker's twine, and I'm just going to tie this. I'm going to wrap it around twice, and then I'm going to tie a little bow on the right edge of this layer. And this twine is pretty nice to work with. It ties a nice little bow. No complaints, except I might have shorted myself some twine. Let's see. Let's see how good I can tie a tiny bow today if I didn't give myself enough twine to work with. I think I can do it. And if not, I will get my reverse tweezers out and they will be handy and help me. Oh, I nailed it. Well, that was lucky. That's a little bit twisted, so I'm just going to finagle my loop and untwist it a little bit. Oh, why aren't you behaving? And then I'm just going to shorten that loop just a tiny bit. It's twisted. I don't know if I like that or not. All right, I have to redo it. I'm sorry. It's going to drive me crazy because I twisted it. So I might as well grab my reverse tweezers to help me with this project now. So if you don't have a pair of reverse tweezers, they're quite handy for acting like an extra pair of hands when you want to tie a tidy little bow. And 9 times out of 10, I don't know where my reverse tweezers are, but today I just happened to know where they were. All right, that's better. I don't have any twist, but I do need to shorten my one loop. So when you shorten your loop, you just want to put your finger down on that, not hold it in place so it doesn't get too loose. And then it's a bit of a back and forth where you're tightening and shortening your loops and tightening. Anyway, I digress. All right, so we've got our twine on. And then now I can go ahead and glue this down onto the card front. Yeah, I'm going to do it. Actually, yeah, no, I'm going to do it. So you can either continue to build your layer because there will be some more elements on this layer, or you can glue it down on your card front. It depends how you like to craft. I don't have any more stamping to do on this layer, so I feel pretty confident that I can just go ahead and glue it down. There's not much to mess up. All right. Hey, Susan, thanks for tuning in. All right, now, and we're going to add our snowbank, and I'm going to pop up the snowbank with dimensionals. I'm going to be pretty generous because that's how I roll with dimensionals. I'm usually pretty generous with them. I go through a lot, and I don't even feel bad about it. They do make a mess, though. I've got dimensional backings everywhere, as I'm sure all of you do as well. All right, so this gets popped up right in the, oops. Yeah, I smudged it. I smudged it already. All right, yeah, that's typical for me. I'm a smudger. I haven't even got out my black ink yet, so it must have been something on my glass mat. All right, well, that's over with. I can breathe a sigh of relief because now I don't have to worry about when the smudge is going to happen. All right, let's work with our stylish shapes circle. So in the jar of joy, there's a little, kind of like a little dots pattern, which I see those to be snowflakes. So I'm just going to stamp a random pattern of snowflakes on my circle die. And just, I don't need to do the bottom because I'm not going to, you're not going to see the bottom of my circle, and there will be a jar covering some of this too. So I'm just going to do the sides and a little bit down the middle. And then this I'm going to pop up under or just above the twine. And I want it in my snowbank a little bit more. So because I've gone ahead and already put some dimensionals in there, I can't tuck it in as well as I'd like to. So I'm just going to snip off an edge and I'm going to pop it in like that. And then I'm going to use dimensionals for this as well, but I'm not going to put the dimensionals on the back of the circle because I have an idea exactly where I want it to go. So I'm just going to stick some dimensionals right there. I mean, either way, it doesn't matter which way you do it. You can do it any way you like. All right, I'm missing comments. I'm sorry. I mean to keep up. Corrine, you're watching from Sydney, Australia, so it must be Tuesday. Hello, Alana Rose. I'm glad you made a class. And Kelly, watching for the first time from Lafayette. I hope I'm saying that right. Thanks for tuning in, and I hope you enjoy this tutorial tonight. Teresa says her cat was walking around with the back of a dimensional this afternoon and she had to chase him down to get it off of his nose. Teresa, that's funny. That's funny. All right, so I'm tucking this circle in like so. Okay, card front is looking like this. Now, this isn't done. What we're going to do is a little bit of stamping with the jar of joy. So I've already gone ahead and mounted the stamp, but I'm going to just quickly show you because last time I used the sweet jar and this punch, I showed you that you could actually put your stamps right on your punch and use it as a block. And then Janice and I were chatting more about it, and because it's kind of weird to use this as a stamp because you can't see where you're stamping, but you can line your stamp up perfectly on this block just where the shape is. If you just kind of go and make sure your stamp is exactly where the shape is, and then you go ahead and stamp it, and when you punch it out, it's perfectly aligned and you don't waste any paper. But so Janice and I talked about this after the class, and you can actually turn your stamp around so the stamp side is down, and then pick it up with your block, and your stamp is going to be perfectly aligned. So I don't know why I never thought about that the first time when I was showing you that you can use the punch as a block, because it's awkward and weird, but you can do it in a pinch, right? Anyway, so there's a little tip for alignment with your punches. You just go ahead and stick your stamps on your punch, pick them up, and you're going to be ready to stamp. You just want to make sure that you've got them the stamping side down, so when you pick it up, you've got it exactly the way you need it. All right, the jar is punched. I'm going to move this stamp out of the way because I don't need it. And in this set is the cutest little snowman. I'm going to stamp him right inside the jar. It's just the cutest. All right, now there is a tiny little stamp for a scarf and for the band of his hat. Ooh, you know what? Before I forget, I'm going to add a little snowman to the inside of the card because how cute is that, right? That's so cute. I don't need the black anymore. I'm going to grab the little scarf hat and my real red ink. And this is where it's going to get a little bit tricky because this is a tiny little stamp and it goes just so on your snowman because as you, whoops, sorry, that was loud. As you might be able to see, there's just a tiny little space on his hat to add a strip of red, and then right under his smile there's an empty space for his scarf. So you do want to get your head right over so you can line things up perfectly. It's a little bit challenging for me to do because my phone's in the way, but I'm gonna do my best. Oh yeah, almost perfect. And then I'm gonna do that for the jar. And I do have a backup in case I royally mess this up, but I didn't. Lucky. All right, I'm gonna get the red out of the way because I don't want any red smudges. Got enough. All right, now I have grabbed a real red blend and I'm just gonna color in the lid of the jar. Now, I can't remember, I have to look at my sweet jar stamp, but I feel like the lid on the sweet jar stamp stamps a solid color and you don't have to color it in, but I might be wrong about that. I feel like I need to double check, but this one, you can just go ahead, color it in or not, depending what you want to do. And then I also grabbed my Timid Tiger and I'm going to just add a tiny little bit of orange for the carrot nose. Oh, Kathy, you're sweet. You are sweet. I am not amazing. I'm like in full-on menopause and forgetting things all the time. It's a true story. And I smudge everything. And I don't have enough time to do all the things that I want to do. So I'm just grabbing this little snowflake stamp again, and I'm going to add some snow right inside his jar. Now I did do one of these jars yesterday to see how it turned out, and I love it. But after I colored in, or after I added the scarf, I'm just adding some snow for the inside of the card too. After I colored the scarf, then I went over it with my Wink Estella and the color bled. So I don't know if I needed to let that dry a little bit because Wink Estella would be really pretty since this is a jar, right? Anyway, I might try it after it has lots of time to dry because it might have just been wet when I added my Wink Estella. Now, you might have noticed a change in my lighting. I have a rechargeable lamp behind me and it just kicked the bucket. So if you noticed that, I'm sorry, and I hope the lighting is still good enough for everybody. All right, now I've got my punch, and because we lined up our stamp right on our punch, you can see maybe that it lines up perfectly. Now, what I like to do to kind of like get my paper exactly just so is I put just a tiny little bit of pressure on my punch so the paper has some resistance and isn't sliding around. And then just with a little bit of resistance, I will adjust my paper exactly the way I want it, and then I'll punch out. Otherwise, if you have it open, your paper's kind of sliding around. It's not as easy. Now also, if you want to keep this negative space in your stamp set, you can use this to line up your stamp as well. So there's lots of ways to line up a stamp. I'm learning this. All right, now we got our little jar. I didn't even need to use my emergency one. All right, so I'm going to add the jar right to partially on the snowbank, partially in this circle die. And I'm just going to glue it down flat because I've got the snowbank popped up and I've got the circle popped up. So I'm just going to lay this down flat. Cover up some of my smudges, and then what I might do a little bit later because I don't have them handy. I might add just some basic rhinestones and cover up my smudge marks with those, and they'll just look like um, little snowflakes maybe, right? Alana Rose, it is a cute snowman. It is so cute. And I don't do Christmas cards in July, to be honest, but I know my friend Kate is, so I wanted to do this. I wanted to do a Christmas in July for Kate. All right, now this is the front of the card. You might want to Wink Estella that. I'm going to wait. I'm not ready to do it yet because I'm a little bit nervous that it's going to smudge. I might actually do a little practice one on this one. Actually, that's a good idea. This one's had time to dry. Let's try it. Only if I can actually find my Wink Estella. I had it yesterday. Here it is. Here it is. All right, let's just see if it'll smudge. Oh yeah, it does actually, it does pull on the red. So if you're going to add Wink Estella, which is super pretty, what I would suggest is don't Wink Estella anything that's red. So I'm just gonna make sure I don't have any color in my Wink Estella. I'm just going to paint a little bit of glitter right in the jar with my Wink Estella, and I'm going to steer clear of the snowman's red scarf and the lid and his hat, and then that's perfect. Yeah, because this snowman that bled a little bit, I did stamp that yesterday, so it's had like tons of time to dry. All right, here we go. It almost makes it look like glass. Now I'm going to hold it up, but I don't know if you can actually see the shimmer of Wink Estella on the camera. It doesn't do it justice, but if you use Wink Estella, you know that it makes a beautiful glitter. Last thing we're going to do, glue down the inside of the card. I'm going to also Wink Estella this super cute little snowman once I get this glued down. Oh my goodness, I love a new glue bottle. It's like a new glue bottle for a crafter is like sleeping in brand new pajamas or fresh sheets that just came off the line, right? There's something about a brand new bottle of glue. It feels pretty good. It feels pretty good. It's not going to cause me any grief. I'm so cheap though. Like, here's my little glue stash of all my almost empty glue that I keep for the one day that I'm going to try to squeeze the last tiny bit of glue out of each one of those bottles. Am I the only one that does that? I don't think so. I always have a whole bunch of almost empty glue bottles kicking around in my craft space that are ready. What I like to do is transfer the little bits of glue back into maybe one of my bottles, and then I feel so thrifty. But it sure gets sticky when I do that. Hey Debbie, happy Monday to you too. All right, so I've Wink Estella this snowman. You might not really see the true beauty of Wink Estella, but if you know, you know. And this is our Christmas in July card tonight. A little bit shorter than our last live, which is good because I don't like to keep you guys too long. I'm going to flip the camera around. It might get bumpy. All right, so it is hot in my craft room. I would really like to put a fan on, but then that's going to blow my paper everywhere. So I might have to start moving downstairs again where it's a little bit cooler and then crafting at my kitchen table. I'm sure my husband's going to like that. Janice, you do that with your glue bottles too, right? Right? Like, we go through a lot of glue. We got to get every little bit of glue out of my bottles. And now that I know Susan Hare's tip to heat up your glue bottle a little bit with your heat gun, I bet that I'm going to get lots of glue out of these bottles and maybe get an almost full bottle when I'm done transferring all the little bits of glue over. So I'm going to try that, but I will warn you if you're trying that, heat guns get hot. And these are plastic, so just give it a few seconds and test it because I don't want anybody to burn themselves, and I certainly don't want to burn myself either because I don't like hurting myself ever. Like, ever. I'm such a wimp about that stuff. You should see it. If I cut myself, I'm just the biggest baby. I can't handle it. It's not my favorite thing. All right. So that's it for tonight. really cute Christmas in July. If you try this design, whether it's Christmas or not, then of course share a picture either in these comments, or I'm going to post a picture of this to Facebook. I would say 10 minutes, but it usually takes me longer to get YouTube up and running. So maybe in about 20-30 minutes, I'm going to post this on Facebook with a link to the YouTube replay. And then if you make this or something similar, or whatever you're making, just share a picture in the comments, because I'd love to see what you're coming up with. So that's it for tonight. Thursday night will be project number 2 in the celebratory SIPs class. I'll post the measurements and supply list on Wednesday as usual, and I'm really excited to share the next 3 celebratory SIPs cards with you, because they are really fun. Next week I'm off work, taking a little bit of a holiday, and it's also the virtual craft retreat, or the virtual scrapbooking retreat. So I think that my Monday and Thursday lives are going to be a little bit wonky. So stay tuned. I'll post the new dates, probably on Friday or Saturday, when I have it nailed down when I'm actually going to go live. So I'm still going to do lives, but it's not going to be Monday night, and it's not going to be Thursday night. I just got to figure out a time and place to do those things. So I'm not sure. I'll keep you posted. Anyway, thanks very much for tuning in, and I hope you all have a very lovely night. Thanks for taking time out of your day to pop in, whether it's live or on a replay. If you are catching this on replay on YouTube, you're going to find the measurements in the description of the video. Anyway, thanks again for watching, and I will see you all on Thursday.